I checked out, I don't feel it, but I checked out good today. Oh, you feel it off? Sky, oh, it's like, tired. I might get so back there. You know what it is? You're not alone. I know. Okay.
Used to be 6.
Okay.
Yeah, we were the only board that was 6 o'clock. But yeah, this is our fingers crossed. Maria's in the waiting room.
Great venue.
Well, I don't have all their numbers. I've got a couple of them. Our worst case scenario is no quorum, then we stop the meeting, go home to the 21st.
And it'd be the best minutes ever.
We still have a. Yeah, and we still have time.
Yeah.
So, thing, but it's just, yeah, it's a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah.
They're just, our commission has been very poor attendance like the past 2 years. It's Barry's birthday. So she was 3 weeks ago. She was just texting, so we can get on if you need.
There he is.
Good, how are you?
Good.
Sorry, I left that shit right away.
That's okay.
Do you have an agenda for me? Oh, yeah.
Must be cold. You don't have your shorts.
I know, we've transitioned. We've transitioned to new.
Like the fall, I'm tired of the stinky hot days of summer.
Yeah. It's kind of flat right now, man. I had a bunch of appointments from Waukegan through Hewsum, Home Valley, up in Mill A, back down to
You've been all
Parkdale.
over the place.
It's so pretty out there right now, though.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. I have a vacation place in Waukegan. Right there, at the bottom of the Cactus Heights Road.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a great spot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I really like it.
This is just a little fishing spot.
I haven't had time to be fishing. Just kind of place to hang out. Actually, I might move up there in a couple of years.
Oh, right on.
Do you work for Coppers?
Copper West. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I just told her to log in.
Do we need to do anything with this?
Said he was going to be
Oh,
on.
we'd probably do that under public comment then, huh? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it. There were no questions. I'd say don't respond. You don't
Okay.
Have the authority, you don't have the purview, so.
Sure, okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Just waiting for more people. Okay. No. Did anyone email and say they won't be here?
Yeah, I mean, just convince Carrie to log in. I think she's out of town. Yeah,
Oh.
but
Hey, we've all done it, but there are two people that it's not their birthday.
it's true. Yeah, we would need.
Yep. One more. Need one more. What?
So,
Carrie joined.
Carrie joined.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's make sure. Oh, great. Great. We have four. All right, let's do it. Planning Commission meeting, November 7th, 2024. I call this meeting to order. Paula, may we please have the roll call?
Patty Case, absent. Woody Cornett,
Here.
Maria Pena. You're muted, but I see you. Carrie Pippenich. Also muted.
Present.
Mark Popoff,
Here.
Nick Portella. And is absent, and John Graham.
Excellent. Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next is the approval of the agenda. If the commissioners present have read through the agenda, may I please have a motion to approve with a second?
A motion to approve the agenda.
Okay,
Second.
excellent. Thank you. A motion to approve the agenda has been made and a second. All in favor to approve the agenda, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, all four. Next is the approval of minutes from the August 15th, 2024 meeting. If all the commissioners present have reviewed those minutes, may I please have a motion to approve those minutes with a second? I motion to approve those minutes, please.
A second.
Thank you. A motion was made to approve the minutes from the August 15th meeting, 2024, and seconded. All in favor to approve those minutes, raise your right hand, say aye, as long as you're at that meeting.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent.
So, yeah, so with board member Pipinich unavailable at that meeting, I don't think we would have a quorum to approve those minutes. So my suggestion would be just push it to the next meeting.
Okay. We're going to push that to the next meeting. Were you not there August 15th?
I was there,
He
yeah.
was,
Did
but
it-
yeah, we would
Oh,
need,
you weren't there.
yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, item 5, we're going to push to the next meeting when either Addie Case or Nick is here so we can get a full count. Next on the list is public comment. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject matter that does not later appear on the agenda. 5 minutes per person will be allowed. We do have a couple things on the agenda, urban renewal specifically, but there's no time for public comment really or public testimony during those. So you can, if something's about urban renewal, you can come up and chat about that or anything you like. When you get up there, please state your name and yeah, making sure your microphone's on. And yeah, just
Hello.
great. And just state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay. My name is Claire Graper. I'm at 713 West 18th.
Okay.
And my main public comment really has to do with an overall lack of sort of community engagement with the community post-COVID. And there are a lot of changes going through that when I talk to people about it at the grocery store or at the gas station, they have no idea that it's going on. And it's all well and good to say we've got it on the city website, which frankly is a train wreck. If you go to Planning Commission, you don't find the agenda and minutes there. You have to go back over to the agenda and minutes. And there are some things there that logistically could make it a lot easier to use. But even as it stands, it's still not engaging with the public. And I would just deeply love, before we push forward with a lot of very well-intentioned improvements, I would love to see us do a town hall, ask people what's going right, what's going wrong, what they'd like to see more of, as opposed to just developing everything we can. And it doesn't feel like it's an efficient use of city resources to be told to go talk to Main Street if I want to get involved. It feels like City Hall could be doing more, especially in the community development portion, to really engage with folks as opposed to placating folks.
Okay.
So really, my question was, what's the definition of blight? But I guess in reading the response, my more pointed question would be, what is the priority of the board when it comes to blight? What blight is the priority to dissolve? Because it feels like a lot of it is economic, and that's the only thing that we're worried about. So I'd like to see improvements to our community, not just improvements to buildings. Sorry, I was given some long definitions. Yeah, the Instagram page is wonderful. It's still not engaging with people. And that's what I'd love to see is the back and forth with the community before we make big changes, especially ones that involve finances and that involve buildings and that involve the look and feel of our entire city. And yeah, I'd like to see City Hall more accountable. So I guess I just like to know what the priority is and why do we feel like we have to do this now?
Well, we're the planning commission. Number one, we're not the urban renewal agency. We have
Right.
completely two separate things. I mean, you might as well be talking to a guy who works at a gas station and a 5th grade science teacher. I mean, it's like
Planning,
different things.
okay.
We are going through a couple things where we are recommending urban renewal stuff to city council, but that is more of a legislative process as opposed to us being directly involved with it. So what I would suggest is getting a hold of the Urban Renewal Agency directly with some of these comments, because they're going to be able to answer them directly since
Okay.
the thing. Yeah. Now maybe you're connecting the Urban Renewal Agency with the Planning Department.
I feel like the planning department has the same responsibility though. And I feel like they work hand in glove. They have to.
There's some connections there and they do work together, but the planning commission, me, Mark, Maria, all of us commissioners, we're not part of that. We deal with escalated cases, we deal with various ordinances and things like that. But the urban renewal, like as far as policy, the funds, the process, we don't even, that doesn't happen in these seats. So my suggestion is go directly to the Urban Renewal Agency.
I did. I was asked and answered. Thank you.
What's that?
That was asked and answered. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
My name's Rick Wolf. I live in the Dalles.
Okay, what's your
I
name?
ain't giving you my street address, sir.
Okay. Can we, all right.
If you want it, I'll write it down for you. You can come visit if you want. I'm not going to give you my street address any longer.
Okay.
I understand, I think, that this planning department has something to do with all the development. Normally. Is that true?
What development are you talking about?
All in the city, urban area. Urban development.
I mean, yeah, the plan
Am I
department.
correct?
Yeah, it goes
Okay.
through the plan department.
All right. Have you received any concept drawings of Federal Street?
The Federal Street Plaza?
Yes.
No, that is still very much in planning.
Are you improving money possibly tonight for Federal Street?
It is part of an urban renewal overall policy, but we are not talking about the specific numbers that are going to Federal Street Plaza. It's just all within the urban renewal budget.
Okay, but it does have to do with planning. There's not a concept drawing other than this one, and it's only half of this page. So how would we give money for a concept that we don't even know what, there's not even a bid. There's no way to bid on a blank page. So it seems that we're wanting to use monies, I believe we are, to draw a concept for us in this town from a person or company from another state or possibly another city only. And looking at bringing people to here from who knows where to do the work. It just seems a little backwards. It seems a little backwards. The funding is a lot of money. I understand that I may be wrong, but my understanding is that we paid $1.5 million for the engineering of 4 blocks, First Street.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that Community Development Department is going through the processes of the people that speak for us, such as the Planning Department, the Historic Landmarks Commission. This project down there is in the Historic Landmarks Commission Business District.
Okay.
And I don't think anything, and I don't think there should be any personality stuff involved. I don't think anything should be approved without at least a drawing of what we don't have there is a thing called speculation before you build. And the speculation isn't being done. And I'm not sure that the people that are lining up this construction projects, multi-millions, are familiar with speculation projects. And we were asked to do publicly for a period of time a speculation, our ideas as public, our concepts.
and they weren't put into a drawing. I've drawn one. I have some experience. I've not seen another. And I would like ours as a public. I haven't got a no on this drawing yet. You may have one. But I will compete this one against anybody else's, whether they're world renowned or Portland or California or whatever. But this is from the city. I walked up and down these streets asking people what they wanted. Okay. I want to be on your team, supporting our staff. I want to support our staff. I want us all to be on the same page. I don't want any more 50-50. 50-50. You know, we may like it, may not. So for us to be able to dig up, are you aware that this plaza involves tearing out Federal Street, digging it up, all the parking spots? Are you aware of that?
I know that it's going to be improved in some way, but again, this planning commission has
Yeah.
nothing to do with planning or coming up with any ideas of Federal Street Plaza or what any urban renewal agency project.
It's like saying you don't have anything to do with the development of one of the best locations in our city.
So I can provide some clarification.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Is that okay if he does?
Yeah.
yeah, so the Federal Street Plaza is not going to be overseen by the Planning Commission whatsoever. And then to add to that, the planning department, community development department has had very little involvement. There's an ad hoc committee that's being run by the city manager. They are kind of running that project. And then there's the Tony site that the Urban Renewal Agency has been working on for years. That's a totally separate site. They're two projects right next to each other. Our goal is to make them have a really cohesive design between the two, make sure they mesh together, but they are two very separate projects. Both of those projects, the Planning Commission may be involved with, the historic landmarks may be involved with when it comes to the Tony site and redeveloping the Tony site, because the development of a site would require Planning Commission oversight. But the actual decision making on what is going to be on the Tony site, that would be a decision made by the Urban Renewal Agency.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What we need is the decision to be made by the city folk. We have to have part of that decision making. Put it up in front of us. Let us look at it. Just, that's all we ask.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, thanks. We'll make sure this gets to the right people. Okay.
Yeah, and I got one to Matthew as well.
Okay. Okay. Next on the list, presentation Urban Renewal 101. This is being presented by Elaine Howard, but we're going to get an opener from Director Chandler first as we get started.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioners Joshua Chandler, Community Development Department. We are joined this evening. I'm joined this evening on my right-hand side by Dan Spots, the city's Economic Development Officer. And we're also joined on Zoom with Elaine Howard. And Elaine has been assisting the Urban Renewal Agency throughout this plan update process over this last year. Elaine is well renowned in all of her work with urban renewal agencies all across the state. We always love working with Elaine. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she's going to walk us through, as you talked about in your comments. The Planning Commission is totally separate from the Urban Renewal Agency, but you are considering something for the Urban Renewal Agency. So what we're going to do here to be a little helpful is Elaine is going to provide a 101 basically of urban renewal. If you don't know what urban renewal is, Elaine will kind of walk you through the steps of it over this next little presentation that we have. And then after that, we will get into the action item this evening. So hopefully Elaine's presentation on the 101 will kind of prime the pumps and get you thinking about urban renewal as we go to the next item. And with that, I am happy to turn it over to Elaine.
Good evening. Nice to see you all. And I hope that the woman who was there previously stayed in the meeting, because I can help answer a couple of her general questions if she did. If not, hopefully she'll be able to watch later on YouTube. So I'm going to share my screen and going to go over the Urban Renewal 101, and then we'll stop and ask questions, and then we will start another PowerPoint that will talk about the role of the Planning Commission tonight and what we're looking for you for input on, and give an overview of the plan amendment and report. Unfortunately, when I share my screen, I can't see any of you. So if you have a question or want to ask anything, just go ahead and do that the normal way that you do, because my screen now is filled with the slideshow. So I will go through urban renewal. This is a presentation that I do often around the state, so it's generic to urban renewal areas. What is urban renewal? Urban renewal is used in Oregon as an economic development tool. It is unique in that it is a financing tool, but it's also a plan that has projects in it. It is used to address blighting influences in specific areas, and we'll talk about that in greater detail on another slide. It functions on increases in property tax revenues in urban renewal areas, and it is used all over the state of Oregon. This shows a map of Oregon and shows the Dalles here. Hood River has right now 3 urban renewal areas. Boardman has 3 areas. Hermiston has 3 areas. Pendleton has 1. LeGrand has 1, but you can see it's used all through the Northern Oregon corridor and then extensively throughout the rest of the state. Urban renewal functions off of property tax revenues. In Oregon, our property tax revenues increase really for only 2 reasons. They increase annually by a limited 3% by our Constitution, and they increase by substantial improvements or new construction. Without an urban renewal area, we pay our taxes in November or we do them quarterly. That property tax revenue goes to the assessor's office, the tax collector. The assessor then gives those monies out to all of the regular taxing jurisdictions, the city, the county, the port. When you have an urban renewal area in your city, the property taxes within that specific urban renewal area are treated a little differently. At the time an urban renewal area is established, the assessor does something called establish a frozen base of assessed value. That is a difficult term because sometimes people think that means their property taxes are frozen and they don't pay them anymore. That's not what that term means. What the term means is at the time the urban renewal area is established, the property tax revenue is divided into 2 streams. The revenue that came at the time the area was established continues flowing to all the different taxing districts. But and another slide will show this also, but the revenue that comes off of appreciated value within the area goes to the Urban Renewal Agency. So you can see that in the blue bar here, and that increases annually over time, and that increases due either to the 3% appreciation, which happens nearly every year unless we're in a Great Recession like we were in the early 2000s, but it typically will go up by 3% every year, and then any new construction or substantial rehabilitation, the revenues off of that go to the agency. So you can see that there are 2 distinct revenue streams. One goes to the regular taxing jurisdictions. The increase in value goes to the agency. This is shown in just a little different way. It just shows that, shows that frozen base along the bottom. That's the money that the taxing jurisdictions continue getting. Shows the increment, which does grow. And then once all of the projects are done and the maximum indebtedness, which is a term we'll talk about in a minute, is completely used, then all of that tax revenue ends up going back to all of the other taxing jurisdictions to be able to use. Before we move on, are there any questions about how that works?
Nope.
Okay, great. The impacts of urban renewal are impacts on taxing districts. Urban renewal does not provide new money. It diverts money that would otherwise go to the other property taxing districts. It does not increase anybody's taxes. It changes where the taxes they pay goes. Again, the taxing districts continue receiving taxes on the frozen base. They temporarily forego those taxes on any growth in the area. And a key concept of urban renewal is sometimes that growth would not have occurred but for the urban renewal area and the projects that are constructed that help facilitate new growth within the area. Urban renewal impact for schools is a little different. In regular taxing jurisdictions, that impact is a direct impact on the amount of money that they receive from the assessor's office. For school districts, their funding formula is very different. They are funded through the state school fund. That state school fund has a lot of other components into it. You know, when we looked at the last slide, this is a pretty straightforward process here. This is not a straightforward process. That state school fund is funded by state general funds, lottery funds, other sources, and statewide property tax revenue. Those property taxes that are diverted from the state school fund up here are backfilled by other revenue sources. Our schools are funded on a pure per pupil basis, and that per pupil basis does not change as a direct result of urban renewal in the Dalles or in Hood River or in Portland, because all of our students continue receiving, or the school district continues receiving, that per pupil amount for each student that's in their school district. An urban renewal area functions on an income source, that's that tax revenue, on expenses, so projects, programs, and administration, and a spending limit. And this is different from how our cities function. So it's capped by what's called a maximum indebtedness. And as we go into the slides that are specific to this area, excuse me, we'll talk about that a little bit. But maximum indebtedness is the total amount of money that can be spent over the life of an urban renewal district on projects, programs, and administration. It is the controlling factor of how long an urban renewal area goes. One of the key reasons to use urban renewal is that it leverages the city's tax rate. So this is a generic slide, but in this city, of the overall tax rate, and we all got our tax bills and we, saw a certain amount goes to different entities. The overall tax rate for this city is 39%. But in the urban renewal area, off of that increased value, they will get 100% of this pie. And then that is what makes urban renewal so powerful as a financing tool, is you are able as a city to leverage your tax dollars that you're contributing to the urban renewal area with the tax dollars from the other agencies. You can see on this side, and this is true for most urban renewal areas in which I work, the school district is the second largest impacted area but then we know they are indirectly impacted. So it's not a direct impact to them. And then, of course, all the other taxing districts are impacted. So usually impacts in an urban renewal area, the most of them are on the city, the school district, and the county itself. When you got your tax bill, you saw a line item for urban renewal on the bottom of the tax bill. That's really confusing to a lot of people because most people in your city don't live in an urban renewal area, so they do not understand why they are paying taxes for urban renewal. The reason urban renewal taxes are on every tax bill is really a two-step process. So I'm going to go through this first step for you so we understand what happens. So this is a hypothetical property tax bill of a property value of $100,000. We use that because it's easily multiplied by whatever that property value might be in your city. And then we look at what the tax rates are for each taxing district. In this area, those tax rates came up to 13.1048. If there's no urban renewal in this city and this property is not in an urban renewal area, next year the value of that property will go up 3%. It will be $103,000. And you can see that each one of these taxing districts goes up by 3% in terms of the amount of money that they receive. And the overall property tax bill goes up by 3%. If you have an urban renewal area in the city, it still goes up to this same number by 3%. But urban renewal, if this property is in an urban renewal area, urban renewal gets this amount of money, which is that 3% increase, and all of the taxing districts continue receiving this amount of money, which is the amount that they got when this property went into the urban renewal area. The tax assessor has to do that for every property that's within the urban renewal area. They add up that number, and then they take that number and spread it on every property tax bill within the city of the Dalles. The reason they do that is due to measures 5, 47, and 50, which provided the limitations on property taxes. And once that went into effect, the Department of Revenue got together with all of the county assessors and tried to figure out, given the requirements of those limitations, how urban renewal would be funded and how the assessors would collect that money. And this is the way that they figured out to do that in compliance with those property tax measures. And I am going to stop sharing at this point. And are there any questions on that portion, the Urban Renewal 101?
Yeah, quick question. So that, if you go back to that slide, is that for a property that is in the urban renewal district or any property within city limits?
This particular slide was set up to be a property that's in the urban renewal area. So each property in the urban renewal area goes through this process with the assessor, but then there's that step 2. And step 2 is adding all those amounts out and then dividing it by everybody's tax bill, depending on what your value is. And so even if you're not in the urban renewal area, you'll have that line item and you'll pay a share of urban renewal taxes. If urban renewal goes away, your property tax bill will not decrease. That money goes back to the other taxing districts. So that's money that's been diverted from those taxing districts, now going to urban renewal, and it's letting you know of your overall property tax bill, how much is being diverted from the taxing districts and going to urban renewal.
Okay, so when an urban renewal program in a city begins, that those funds that go to the urban renewal agency aren't new funds. They are just funds that every other district is receiving less of.
Yes, and they don't receive, this is, and you probably are understanding this, but I'm just going to clarify it. Their tax monies for the next year don't go down from what they had last year. They just don't get as much as I thought they might get. And that
Got
is
it.
only for those properties that are within the urban renewal area.
Got it. Okay.
So the rest of the city as a whole, as it increases or new development happens, all your taxing districts continue getting all of that new property tax revenue.
Okay. Got it.
It's really a confusing way to do it, urban renewal. And so when people get their tax bills, it's understandable that they're confused by it, but it just is the way that we do it. So I try to explain it the best we can and just know that's how it's done.
Okay. Got it.
Other questions? We
Nope.
can come back to that later if we need to. I'm going to close that one out. And then I think that's the end of that agenda item. And I think maybe Dan or Josh wants to give an introduction to the next item. I'm not sure.
Yep. Yeah, so thank you, Elaine. As always, very informational here. So I've heard it multiple times, and I think I learned something every time. So I appreciate that. So yeah, as mentioned, our next item on the agenda here is the action item number 8, and this is the adopting resolution number PC 624-24, which is a resolution recommending the City Council approve a substantial amendment to the Columbia Gateway Downtown Plan and Report. So I'm going to give a brief, I'm going to go through our staff report that we have in front of you, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Elaine. Elaine has some more slides that she'll walk us through, and we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of this and what we're talking about. So the Columbia Gateway Agency, Urban Renewal Agency, is seeking the Commission's recommendation on a proposed substantial amendment to the plan, which is an urban renewal plan that's defined by ORS 457, and the report, the accompanying report. This process is required, as I mentioned, by ORS 457. 457 is the section that talks about urban renewal agencies within the state. So this process involves sharing the plan with all the impacted taxing districts for a 45-day consultation and conferral period, forwarding this plan to the Planning Commission, which we have here in front of you today, ultimately bringing it in front of the Dalles City Council for adoption or consideration of adoption. So back in March of 2023, the agency really initiated a comprehensive review. That was when we, really started looking at a review of the urban renewal plan, which would be the first substantial improvement to the plan since 2009. Initially, we looked at it for to do some minor improvements, minor updates to the plan itself, adding some of the major projects that the agency's been working on, the Basalt Commons multifamily complex downtown, as well as the incentive program, which is a funding program that the agency has. However, in diving into this further, we did a fiscal analysis, which actually uncovered some significant constraints with the agency spending authority and the ability to invest into new projects. So at that point, what we had found out was that currently our spending authority is at a total of $29 million, but through different commitments over the years, what it really comes down to is about approximately $2.2 million remains uncommitted. So the agency is also obligated to fund multiple projects from a 2009 bond. Notably, the First Street projects, what we talked about before. The First Street project is a project from many, many years ago. It started and stopped. We have spent a considerable amount of money as the city and the agency for design alone on this project due to many different phase changes in that period of time. And at this point, the current estimate we have is about $7 million for this project. So over the years, the agency and the city have put aside $3.8 million for this project, which shows that we have a $3.2 million shortfall. But in all of this, the agency, with the incentive program, we've went around to different business owners, finding the need, finding out that there is need to invest into properties downtown, to improve and revitalize some of the buildings we have downtown. And we realized we had to make a decision between going with the First Street project, or which we would still be short on with our spending authority that we have, or investing it into the projects downtown. So we're bringing in front of you a discussion here that would actually allow for the increase of $6.1 million of this spending authority, this is pending approval by City Council. And as Elaine just pointed out to us, this is something that is actually a process that does not result in raising anyone's property taxes. This is just continual reallocation of taxes from those taxing districts to the agency itself. So a substantial amendment to the plan and the accompanying report is required to formalize this agreement. Oregon law restricts the agency to one substantial amendment after 2010. So effectively, this would be the one opportunity to increase the maximum indebtedness, and it would effectively still terminate the district, as we've discussed for many, many years, at the year 2029 is when the agency, when the downtown district would be done. The commission's role here is really to provide recommendations on the proposed plan and the report to council. And what you're going to be doing is taking a look. We'll be presenting it in front of you for conformance with the city's comprehensive plan. So ultimately, the decision is, does this plan conform to the various goals within the city's comprehensive plan? While no formal public hearing is mandated for tonight's review, input from the public is encouraged, and the commission is not expected to approve this amendment outright. Actually, the Planning Commission does not have the authority to approve this amendment. Neither does the Urban Renewal Agency in this case. This increase is entirely, the decision will be made entirely by City Council. So we provided in here a summary of the different attachments that are included. It's a rather big packet, a lot of urban renewal thick information here. So we appreciate you reviewing the information ahead of time. Exhibit A is the substantial amendment itself. So this is what will be moving forward to City Council. Exhibit B is the red line version showing with the changes we have made from the 2009 plan to what's being proposed today. Exhibit C is the required reports. You'll see a lot of the same information from the plan and the report, but this is the report that is required to go through this process. And then Exhibit D gives you an idea of the different projects that the agency has highlighted for over the past few years of business owners downtown that really show a need for urban renewal funds to help move some of their projects over the finish line. So the review this evening is you'll find on page 38 of this packet. This is when we start going into the different findings of the comprehensive plan. So I'll go through them now. The following analysis focuses on the specific goals of the comp plan and their implementation. So the first is Goal 5. Goal 5 of the comprehensive plan is open spaces, scenic and historic areas, and natural resources. So our finding is that the Federal Street Plaza is one of the projects in this plan. The urban renewal funds would be used used as a match for other sources of financing. This plaza would create open space in the downtown, supporting the other commercial uses and encouraging activity in the area. The plan conforms to the open spaces, scenic and historic areas, and natural resources goal. So as we heard earlier in a public comment, the money being put towards it, of this, if this is increased, the money that would be put towards the Federal Street Plaza we're proposing would be basically a match, so we could go out and find some grant funds to assist on developing that project. And at this time, we do not have any formal proposals per se for that plaza. The city has brought on a consultant to help shape the vision of that plaza. So no hard numbers are available at this time. But what this increase does is it gives us the opportunity to go out, leverage funds for some grants, and then assist the city. The Urban Renewal Agency would be assisting the city with funding that project. So goal 8 of the comprehensive plan, recreation needs. Finding here is that, once again, the Federal Street Plaza is included here. These funds, as I mentioned, would be used to match other sources of financing. It does create an open space in the downtown, and it supports the other commercial uses and encourages activity in the area. We found that this plan conforms to the recreation needs goal of the comprehensive plan. So goal number 9, economic development. Our finding is that the Urban Renewal's incentive program provides funds to encourage the rehabilitation in the area. The program offers assistance to improve building facades, adds residential units, provides interior improvements to improve overall improvements to buildings in the area and within the Dalles Historic Commercial District. These improvements will help facilitate healthy businesses and economic activity in the area. We found that this plan conforms to the economic development goal of the comprehensive plan. Goal number 10 is housing. The improvements to First Street and the development of the Federal Street Plaza will enhance the area for further redevelopment, which could include future residential development. Also, building owners may apply to the Urban Renewal's incentive program for assistance in rehabilitating or adding residential units. So ultimately, when how the Urban Renewal's incentive program works, if you are adding a residential unit downtown, the agency will pay up to $10,000 of the system development charges to develop that residential unit. So we have found that this plan conforms to the housing goal number 10 of the comprehensive plan. Goal number 12, transportation of the comprehensive plan. Our finding is that the improvements to First Street, including the reconstruction, improved pedestrian system, street trees and bike lane will serve the needs of the commercial businesses, residents, and tourists in the area by providing a more safe, multimodal transportation experience. This project will improve the experience of traveling between downtown and Lewis and Clark Festival Park and enhance the opportunity for development and connectivity to the Federal Street Plaza. These improvements will complete the overall transportation plan to improve the streets and pedestrian atmosphere in the area. We found that the plan conforms to goal number 12, transportation goal of the comprehensive plan. So going in a little bit to the process we have in front of you, this is going through a substantial amendment is a very long-winded process that we started. As I mentioned, we really started laying the groundwork for this in May of last year, but we really kind of picked up the speed here just last month when we went to the agency on October 21st. The agency passed a resolution 8-1 recommending that we move this process forward to City Council, which then resulted in the process that we're going through this evening. So this process includes the preparation of the plan amendment. The agency reviewed this. This review was recommended then to the commission. We will be presenting the plan amendment to the Wasco County Board of County Commissioners. That's going to be in the first meeting in December. We sent out a notice to everyone in the city of the Dalles. Every property owner will receive a notice. We received the city of the Dalles. We've received ours today. So I would check your mailbox. You're probably receiving one regarding this process as well very, very soon. Next step will be forwarding a copy of the proposed plan amendment to the governing body of each taxing district. Actually, this is something that happened on October 22nd. So the taxing districts have 45 days to comment on this proposed amendment. So that was sent hand delivered to a rep from every one of our taxing districts on October 22nd. And then we have our city council public hearing on December 9th. Once adopted, then if council approves, if adopted, this ordinance takes 30 days, goes into effect 30 days after approval. So there's the additional breakdown of what I just described here, the key reference dates. That's also on page 41 of your packet. I won't get into it since I just went over that. I'm looking at some project benefits here. So the project benefit to this increase, we've touched on it here, but to, touch on it again, the expansion of maximum indebtedness will enable the city and the agency to make needed repairs to the First Street while investing a majority of the resulting TIF collection, tax increment financing collection, in property rehabilitation projects. Those projects will result in long-term expansion of the tax base, as further described in the report, and will help the agency fulfill its mission of eliminating blight in the district. No new debt will be incurred throughout this process. If approved by the council, the district will terminate as scheduled in 2029, at which time all uncommitted TIF revenues will be returned to the taxing districts. So a notification of this process is outlined on the same page here in accordance with ORS 457. These documents were provided, as I mentioned, on October 22nd to all of the taxing districts, which allows for a 45-day comment period prior to the December 9th City Council meeting. On October 8th, October 7th, it should be, a public hearing notice, or excuse me, on October 8th. So those notices went out a little bit early, but the public hearing notice for that December 9th meeting, as I mentioned, was sent to every property owner within the city of the Dalles. These are provided both in English and Spanish. We have a QR code there, so you can follow it to find pertinent information regarding this process. We will be uploading some frequently asked urban renewal questions on this website, an interactive map to show all the projects that the agency has done since 1990. This can all be found on the city's website under the Community Development Department page. Before I get into recommendations, I would like to turn it back over to Elaine so she can walk us through really what we touched on here a little bit, but with some slides to go over exactly to kind of bring it home, and then we'll jump into the recommendations that we had for you this evening. Elaine?
Thank you. Sharing my screen again. A lot of what I have in this is repetitive of what Josh just went through, so I'll go through that fairly quickly for you. I just do want to note that I've been working on this project with Tiberius Solutions. They are the key financial advisor on urban renewal in the state. And so they provide all of those numbers on maximum indebtedness and impacts to taxing districts and financial capacity. What this slideshow that I'll go through quickly will talk about is the role and process of the Planning Commission, a quick review of the plan and report, a financial overview, and then the next steps and motion. So this is a slide that I use with every planning commission. The review of the Planning Commission is to review your Gateway Plan amendment for conformance to the Dalles Comprehensive Plan and make a recommendation to the City Council. Two questions came up earlier tonight that I thought it would be helpful if I addressed. One was, what is blight? Blight is specifically defined in the statute, and whenever you do a new plan or a plan amendment, you have to, again, address those potential conditions of blight. Blight typically in any urban renewal plan in Oregon is the need for infrastructure improvements, utility improvements, street, sidewalk, those kinds of improvements. So the First Street project definitely occurs as a blight changer. It will improve the condition of that street. And then your building rehab program, your program to assist in building improvements within the area, those are qualify as blight under ORS 457, and addressing those conditions does qualify as a way to spend urban renewal funds. There was a question about blight, and I've had a question from other communities about, can you spend blight on social activities, social homelessness, those kinds of things. Blight by statute is restricted to capital improvements only. So you can build streets and put in utilities and work on buildings. You cannot provide social services with urban renewal funds. There are other funding sources that are allocated for social services by different entities. Urban renewal is specifically for capital improvements only. The parts of the urban renewal plan that have been updated are the goals and objectives. Your staff spent quite a bit of time with the Urban Renewal Agency going through those goals and objectives over the past year and making sure that they reflect where that agency is now. It's good for anybody listening to know that the Urban Renewal Agency is comprised of representatives of the different taxing districts, including the city council itself. So it is not just the city council in the Dalles. In the Dalles, it also includes representatives of your taxing districts. That is unlike really any place else in the state, but it does make sure that those people who are foregoing that money have a say in how that money is being used. We have updated the projects. It proposes that increase in maximum indebtedness that Josh talked about of about $6.1 million. And then there's just general updating because since 2009, the statute has been changed twice. So we just made sure that what was in your urban renewal plan conformed with what the statutory changes were after 2009. These pictures here show one of your large rehab projects, the Sunshine Meal Project, and you can see before what it looked like there, kind of a key feature at that end of your city and what it looks like now. So a huge improvement for that area of your city and really a cornerstone area of your city. The projects that you are looking at continuing is a continuation of the incentive program with downtown property rehabilitation projects. One of the potential future projects is Sigmund's / the Oak Hotel and doing a renovation of that property. So the other projects along with that continuation of the building improvement projects would be the Basalt Commons, which is a mixed-use commercial and residential development. The developer will demolish the existing structure, a former auto dealer, and replace it with a 5-story commercial and residential complex. Tony's Town and Country Building acquisition, demolition, and site rehabilitation. First Street reconstruction to include sidewalk replacement, street and substreet reconstruction, tree plantings with irrigation, related infrastructure and public safety improvements. And the Federal Street Plaza, and again, using your funds as a match for other funds. Establish a public plaza, green space, and other improvements to create a community gathering space between First and Second Streets. Urban renewal will be used to help leverage external resources such as state and federal grants by contributing toward that local match that is almost always required. This is just another picture of a project that you have completed within the area. This is the Commodore Hotel. At the agency meeting, I expressed that when I first started working with you, the Commodore Hotel looked like this. So I've been working with the city of the Dalles for many years. And of course, it is a much improved, beautiful building that provides needed housing in your area. The report on the plan, as Josh said, conforms to the requirements of ORS 457.087. So it documents the existing conditions within the area to say that the area is still blighted, and it provides the financial projections to figure out both how much money the maximum indebtedness could be increased by and how long that would take. So these are just some of the conditions of blight within the area to kind of just help visually see that, yes, there indeed is blight within the urban renewal area. The maximum indebtedness, again, is the total amount of money that you may spend on projects, programs, and administration of the area over its lifetime. The increase would be about $6.1 million. these numbers to you are going to be pretty confusing because it mixes what the last maximum indebtedness was with the current proposed increase, showing that the remaining amount, including what was left over or uncommitted from the last, plus this 6.1 at the time that we wrote the report, was this amount of funds, 10,949,304. That number changes monthly as you work on projects and allocate funds. So these are the numbers that were used when we drafted the report. This shows the estimated project allocations. These numbers can be changed in the budget process over the lifetime of the, it's a fairly limited lifetime. It's 2029. But this just shows where the expectation is that those funds would be spent. So the first column of numbers is constant 2024 dollars. The second column of numbers is the year of expenditure dollars. So if it's 2025, 26, 27, 28, it adds an inflationary factor. So incentive program projects are around $4.4 million now, and $4.7 million year of expenditure. Is that Gayer building? So a small amount to that, $12,000. The Salt Commons Development Agreement, $730,000. Those don't go up because those are happening with current dollars, 2024 dollars. The Salt Commons Incentive Program funding, $928,000. Third and Jefferson parking lot redevelopment, $484,658. Parking lot resurfacing, $100,000. First Street, an allocation of 3.2, knowing that that goes with other money that the agency has been putting aside for this project, and that will increase a little bit because it won't all be spent this year. Federal Street Plaza, $700,000, again increasing a small amount. Administration, $285,000, increasing because it will happen through the lifetime of the area for those total expenditures within the area. Josh did a nice job of walking through the comprehensive plan findings. When we do those findings, we review the comprehensive plan portions against the projects which are being considered, because that is how you are spending the money. So that is where that nexus comes in terms of is how you're spending that money and making a change within your area conform to what exists in your comprehensive plan. Josh went through the next step in schedule, and I think the most important thing for all of us here is the December 9th public briefing, which has been sent out to all residents of the Dalles. So very extensive, and we will take testimony at that meeting of people's input. So this is the staff recommendation, and I can see we didn't fill in a couple of numbers here. But the staff recommendation is to move to adopt your resolution, a resolution recommending the City Council approve a substantial amendment to the Columbia Gateway Downtown Plan and Report. And then as part of that recommendation, I guess I'd like to make a change to that to also say that you motion that the Planning Commission finds that the Urban Renewal Plan Amendment conforms to the comprehensive plan. And I'm going to stop sharing here because I believe you have this in your staff report, and that way I can see you. Any questions?
No questions for me.
I'm just curious about how much money that we've spent on that First Street project already.
Yeah, I can answer that, Commissioner Grant. At this point, we've estimated about $1.5 million since the project really kicked off in 2006, 2007. So, in speaking to our engineers, this is, as you can imagine, a very high cost for 4 or 5 blocks along First Street, but it's the result of multiple phasing changes over the life of the project. At one point, there used to be what was proposed is on Washington Street. There was a tunnel basically that would have gone underneath the railroad, underneath the freeway and connected to the Riverfront Trail. That was abandoned years ago because due to overall cost. So that plan was in place, and then we had to go back and basically redo the plans to take that out of it. So it's the result of many years of cost escalations and scoping changes.
Thank you.
This is Elaine. May I say something here? Josh can correct me if I'm wrong. My bet is your resolution has in it that the amendment conforms to the comprehensive plan. So you don't have to add that language. And Josh, you probably have that resolution in front of you.
I do. Let me scroll to it really quick, but
Yeah, I did not write that resolution, so I don't have it to look at, but I bet that's why that motion is a little different than what I typically do.
yeah, and we have the findings actually. So yes, as you'll see on page 169 of your packet, you'll see the commission hereby adopts the findings of the plan and reports conformity with the Dalles comprehensive plan as follows. And then this includes all the different findings that we touched on with the staff report itself. So you're correct, Elaine. Thank you. So it's on the, at this time, it's on the commission. We're happy to take any questions that you have. I think Elaine kind of touched on that, but the next step would be a motion, or we do have, a member from the public here. So if there's any questions or comments from them, I think this would be an appropriate time to have them come up and ask. We can answer, of course, this planning commission is not the agency. So Dan and I will be able, and Elaine will be able to answer some of those any heavy agency questions that are asked.
Okay. If you have questions, please state your name and address into the microphone and go ahead.
Claire Graper, 713 West 18th. I just wanted to know what the date of the report was. You said that a lot of these figures were as of the report. So I'm wondering what that date was, when this was compiled.
This is Elaine. I will look at it right now and be able to tell you that. Uh, 10/10/2024. So okay. October 10th. So it's very current.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay, excellent. Commissioner Grant, are you on the Zoom meeting?
Yes, I am.
Okay, would you mind turning your camera on, and Paula, will you document that Commissioner Grant has joined the meeting? Okay, perfect. I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution number PC 624-24, a resolution recommending the City Council approve a substantial amendment to the Columbia Gateway / downtown plan and report.
Can I
Point of
second
order.
that?
Is the chair able to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Just
so, and Maria, you seconded that motion?
Yes,
okay.
I did.
So motion has been made to adopt resolution number PC 624-24, a resolution recommending the City Council approve a substantial amendment to the Columbia Gateway / downtown plan and report. That motion has been seconded. All in favor of approving that motion, raise your right hand and say aye.
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 All right, that is all unanimous ayes. Is there a a line item in here for us to formally adopt that resolution, or is it just the recommendation to adopt? Okay, so we're all good there. That concludes that action item. Elaine, thank you very much. That was super informative. It is not very often that we get a brief crash course to a civics lesson, which I think everyone could use a lot more of. So thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you for allowing us to put you to sleep for a bit, but give you some valuable information. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next is staff comments and project updates.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Just to give you a heads up, we have a planning commission meeting scheduled for November 21st. This meeting, I think we've talked about it in previous discussions. This will be a new discussion on new requirements coming down from FEMA. So, apologies for a reason or another. And then also the city is currently working on updates to the short-term rental ordinance, which is not something that is handled by the planning commission, but as a result, there is going to probably be some follow-up, just cleanup to our code. We removed short-term rentals from Title 10, which is land use and development, a few years back, but there's still some mention of short-term rentals themselves. So we do have to go through a formal process to have those removed. Bed and breakfasts are no longer allowed. They were replaced by the short-term rental license program, but we still have mentioned 2 bed and breakfasts. We do have to go through a formal process to remove it, even though technically you wouldn't be able to apply for a bed and breakfast permit anymore. We do have to follow kind of go through the formalities on that. So that will probably be coming in front of you. And with that, I think, like I said, I'll keep it short, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions anybody has.
No questions from me. Anybody else? Nope.
No questions, but thank you very much for the presentation. That was pretty informative.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, thank you all.
Any commissioner comments or questions? All right. Well, thanks all for being there. We look forward to the next meeting, which I'm sure will be large, also informative, and meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.